We got Red Gohan 2 before GTA 6. So you're looking at the reveal cards for Red. Very late to the party on this one. I was late to the party before with the other set, but that was because they haven't updated the client before, the cards actually revealed in the Twitter. And I wanted to have them in the client first. But this time, this is a week after they've already been revealed in the client. But we're here now. We're gonna do this. The red card that we're getting as a leader is gonna be this base Sun Goku. Now remember that since this is a Sun Goku, you're going to be able to run the Sun package that came out with Red Gohan. It's a little bit debatable whether or not you want to run that package because of how this deck is designed, but we'll see as we move along how that will work. Anyways, this leader, when attacking, you draw a card, and if you have two or more key, you draw a card, then you flip. It works exactly like Green Beast Gohan from the previous set, because it awakens just with ki, it doesn't have a life condition. This leader being a draw one card instead of awakening at a higher life or two more ki or four or less life is very, very, very important, because this leader is gonna be very good at killing the opponent when they're at 3, as we'll see later with the Thank You Dragon Balls. So it's very important that this leader, above all else, drew the card when he flipped, because he's going to be a leader that's going to go for game once your opponent's at 3. So you need as many cards as possible in order to do that. Anyways, when you flip, after you meet the key condition, this leader is a 30k swing if you gain a key during the turn, which is not difficult at all. This is a basically nothing condition. Very similar to Black Gogeta in the turns that he gets a 10 key, and the conditions to meet that 10 key are basically negligible as long as you're playing any GT card that gets a key. And then active main once per turn, you remove all the key in your battle area, and you get key for each key removed. Essentially what you're doing is absorbing the key into your leader after you get it into your battle area. Very easy to remember when you see it that way. And the basic idea is to absorb that key and then use it later for a big triple strike swing. We got this Upa Earthling, very similar to Fua, except instead of minusing by 15, he gets 1 key and then he minuses by 10. Now that key is very important for this deck. I think this is a 4-up run in the deck because it gets you your key while also allowing you to remove cards and make them easier to swing into. It inconveniences their game plan. And since there are leaders that, if you're fighting against Black Super Saiyan Namek Goku, and they play the Piccolo, turn 2, you can minus that Piccolo to swing into it with your leader if you're not awakened yet, which can be very nice. Basically what I'm trying to say is that you don't actually have to kill a 10k card. The minus still helps you get value into cards, so this, as your removal card, is very important to get. Easy to replace. I mean, the Fua has long been forgotten, but it's much more important to get this card rather than the Fua. This card is very nice and interesting. On play, you return 2 Earthling only cards with cost 2 for your drop to your deck, and then you shuffle your deck. Number 1, the shuffle your deck ability can be very good because sometimes you can, with Gogeta, you can bottom cards that you might need later on. So shuffling your deck can help you find those cards much more conveniently. And returning 2 Earthlings from your drop to your deck, that's very important to not deck out. But for this deck specifically, there is one card that you want to run more important than any other card. There's an easily top 1 card that you want to run, that you want to replace that meets this condition. We're going to see it as we move on. We got this North Kai. If you have a total of 2 or more key, choose 1 battle card 25 power or less in your opponent's battle area, and it can't attack. This card I feel is going to be very good to run in this deck because essentially 3 energy and with 1 key, you play Upa, it minuses a card by 10, and then you play North Kai, and then it picks that card, and if it has a power of 35 power or less, it can't swing. Which is very important because a lot of the big body cards are 35k. You can freeze a 5 cost for 3 energy, which at this point and stage in the game, you much rather do that for 1 energy. But the fact that you can do it for 3 is very nice as well. You can also use the removal Kamehameha, but this deck wrong. It can't run the 2 cost extra. You'll see why. We got this Krillin. On play, you discard a card from your hand. It gets 1 key. Then you look at top 5 and reveal it to 1 Saiyan only battle card or 1 Earthling only card with cost 3 or less. Now notice that the condition is... hold on. Let me read this again. It can be any card, right? So it can be extras as well. So that's a very good search condition. Now, and then place the rest. Now, while it is a good search condition, it's a scry, for lack of a better word. You would much rather play a card that draws rather than scry. But this search condition is not bad at all. You can pick up extras, which can help you with your game plan, and you can get cards to your drop, which again, you can use to play this King Yama and get them back to your deck and be able to search them more conveniently. So this Krillin is not bad at all. I wouldn't personally run him, but it's a tech, it's an option. Now this card I think is also an instant run 4 of. This card gets +1 ki. Then if you have a total of 5 or more ki, your opponent that's at 5 or more life, you can deal 1 damage to him. So it essentially stops stall. Now the general game plan with this deck is going to be to get your opponent to 3 to use triple strike, which we'll see later down the line. This card is very hit or miss. It's like essential in some matchups, but for the most of every other game, it's like when you're at 5 or more ki, your opponent is basically already going to be at 4 life or less, so you're never really going to see this. The most important part about this card is it's a 20k. It's an Earthling only 20k, so you can play this in swing, which no other Earthling card in this package can do. Most of what you'll see is 15s, 5s, 5s, 10s, 5s, and you're not really going to be swinging with them. You're just going to be playing them for their on playability, and that's it. But this card is different because it can swing. So you play this, you get the key, and then you can also get a swing that minuses a card in your opponent's hand. Or he takes it and goes to 3 or 4. The difference between this being a 5 and this being a 4 is like, it's like, wow. If they made this 4, this card would be broken. This card would be like an instant run 4 of. Because if you can force your opponent to go to 3 and then triple strike them, like that would be colossal. It would be huge. But still, I think this is a run 4 card off because of the tech that it provides by preventing your opponent from stalling and by being a body that you can swing with. I feel like that's very important overall. The alt art, surprisingly, actually looks a lot better. Usually you don't get that. The alt art usually doesn't look that much better, but this one, I like it a lot. This is a no run. It's a blocker, and then permanent opponent's turn, this card in a battle area gets 10k. Now, if your leader doesn't awaken, if your leader does not awaken ever, basically, in the entire game, and you want to stall the game by getting a 20k body that you can't swing into your 15k leader with, this card would be runnable. But like, when would that situation ever happen? Go on purpose to not awaken with your leader? No way, dude. And it just being a 20k instead of something like, I don't know, a 25, like, no. I mean, it's not locked behind a condition, and it's an Android card, so you can play it on something like Cell. But for the most part, no. We're not doing this, man. I'm sorry. Sorry to bear bad news. Now, also, we gotta remember that these Android cards support both Android 18 and Cell. This is a 3-cost 25k. Active main, switch 2 Earthling-only battle cards in your battle area with Kazu-2 to rest mode. The cards switch in the rest mode gain 2 ki. Now, this card is not overall great because the cards have to be active. And for the cards to be active, you have to play them with the energy no matter what. You can't cheat them out with Chilai. You have to play them out no matter what. And in order to play 2 costs, you have to have 2 energy, then 4 energy. And then the energy that it costs to play this, you have to have 7 energy total. If you could cheat out on the energy with any of those, could be useful. But for the most part, I feel like you're not really going to see this, unless your opponent lets the Earthling live. If your opponent lets the Earthling live, which is unlikely, because, KOing them is not going to be a problem, sure. You can get this off, and it's very powerful, because it gets you 2 ki. Well, you making an Earthling that wouldn't do anything otherwise, do something. But aside from that, not really much of a use. We're not going to see this be played much. We got the Suno. This card gets +1 ki, then you draw a card and discard. So you draw a card and then scry. Kind of like the Krillin, except it doesn't swing. Well, I guess the other Krillin didn't swing either because it was a 15 instead of a 20. But this one is a little bit worse. It does draw the card when KO'd, which can help in some matchups. But for the most part, I mean, I guess it's an alternative tech that you can use. You play the Suno, then if your opponent doesn't KO them, you can play the 17. But if your opponent does KO it, you get the draw with the card while also getting the ki, which can be interesting. But for the most part, people can ignore this KO condition. Yellow can lock it, blue can bottom it, red can minus it. The decks that will really be convenient against it would be probably Beast Gohan, or basically any green deck. I don't know why I specifically said Beast Gohan, but every green deck that's stall and black. So it matters against black and green, and that's it. The rest have ways to, maybe yellow too, because yellow wouldn't really want to lock this anyway. But it can. Yellow can lock it and then ignores KO effect. But for the most part, black, green, and maybe yellow if you're really being generous. Blue and red just ignore this KO effect altogether. But it can be a very good alternative tech when you're playing against black and green, which can help. We got this Goku, permanent opponent's turn. If your leader is a Saiyan only Son Goku, you have a total of 2 or more ki, this current battle leader gets plus 5k. And then when attacking, this card gets plus 1 ki. So this card is not really gonna live. It's a 3 cost that you can't exceed out on. It does get you the ki anyway. But becoming a 35k, a 25k, who's that really gonna matter against? If it became a 30k instead, then we're looking at something. But getting the ki is not really gonna matter much. Getting the ki is gonna matter, but it's not. This card living is not gonna be like something that's gonna happen consistently. Because your opponent can address it by so many different ways. And being at plus 5k only really matters against red. Red can already address 25ks. So it's just not really going to matter much to play this card. I mean, it gets you a ki when attacking instead of on play. And it swings. So it does very similar to the Krillin. Sure. But the Krillin already swings for the 20 and it costs 1 less energy. Which is huge for it to cost 1 less energy. It is massive for it to cost 1 less energy. If it can live, it can help, but for the most part, it's just a bad standard card. This is an SR, obviously you're going to be able to run this. Remove all the ki other than this cards on play, and then this card gives plus 1 ki for each card removed. So this absorbs the ki similarly to the leader, except that when attacking, you get a ki, and then you get plus 5k ki for each ki removed by this for the battle. So what you do is you add a bunch of different Earthling cards that give you ki, then you give the ki to this, then this swings and becomes at least a 30k if you just add 1 ki to it. Because it gets the ki and then swings for 30. Then you can give that ki to your leader, and then your leader becomes a 30k, so you swing double 30 for 4 energy. Very, very powerful. Very important to do it with this deck, especially since you want to get the decks below 3 life. So you can play the Krillin. The line would be that you play the Krillin, swing for 20. You play this card, you swing for 30. Then you swing with the leader, swing for 30 again, and then you get the ki back into your leader to start planning your triple strike. That can be very impactful, dude. This card is an essential card. Very good card. You can also run this with the Sun package, because remember that you could also run the 3-cost Gohan and just decide to not swing with this. I mean, it's probably going to die, but you can just not swing with it and play the 3-cost Gohan and play it, and essentially play the Gohan for 1 energy extra, which can matter. It's just a very overall nice card to have in the deck. It's an instrument 4-up. The only reason why you wouldn't run it is because it's an SR, which can make things complicated in terms of getting it in the client, but, you know. Very good card. And the alt art, obviously, like, this is insane. Now, this is a Spirit Bomb Goku technically, but it's from Android 13, which is weird why it's in this deck. But, I mean, to say the art doesn't look sick is, I mean, we're smoking. We're smoking something. Now, this is BR support. BR does not need the support at all, but sure, we're getting BR support. Anyways, on play, you discard a card from your hand, and then you add a Vegeta BR that costs 2 or less from your drop to your hand. This can be very good, because Gogeta does desperately need removal, like discard power. Because since you have cards like, what's that one card called? The Veku, the Fat Veku, that gets cards back from drop, and the Goten that picks up cards from drop, it's very important to get cards you can discard in order to get value with those cards as well. So getting discard power in Gogeta BR for the first time, very, very important. This unplayability is very underrated and should be, you know, utilized to its full effectiveness. It's going to take a little bit more brain power than Gogeta players usually use, but I mean, that's nice to, you know, get. Anyways, this Goku, when attacking for leaders Gogeta BR, add 2 to the cost of extras in your opponent's hand for the turn. This is going to be very good against specific decks. It's completely going to shut down the Results of Train that people want to run with Super Saiyan Goku. So finally, maybe, well, not finally, maybe, just maybe, people are going to finally take off Results of Training on Super Saiyan Goku, which it shouldn't be running in the first place. But now that there's an actual card that counts it specifically, now people will finally wake up and turn it off at this point, right? So this is kind of lame though, because it completely shuts down Blue Vegeta, which decks shouldn't do. Decks shouldn't just completely shut down another deck. It's a very lame way to play, because then that deck you just can't run it in the meta. Like you see Gogeta with with Blue Vegeta and then use Instant FF because it just completely shuts you down and there's nothing you can do. So this case, it basically shuts down defensive extras, which only really matters for Yellow Vegeta. But at the very least, silver lining, think about it this way, now decks that are running Results of Training when they shouldn't are going to stop running Results of Training because Gogeta's going to completely shut them down. So that's nice. That's a good prospect. Moving on, we got the super combo. It's a Saiyan Earthling combo to Gohan Youth. We've already had multiple Saiyan Earthling super combos in Red. Actually, is that even true? What is a Saiyan Earthling super combo in Red? Oh, we already have Trunks Youth. So we already had a Youth card, and we already had a Saiyan Earthling card. I mean, having a Gohan specifically can help in some search conditions, but we already had Saiyan and Earthling cards. So, no, not good. Well, actually, no. Wait. No, this card is huge. You know why? Because the Sun card was Saiyan and Earthling. Now, we didn't have a Sun... The Sun super combo that we had was Sun, Goku, Daima. But now we can run this super combo and find it with Earthling conditions. We'll also find it with Saiyan. Because before you had to pick between running Trunks Youth, which was a Saiyan and Earthling, but it wasn't Sun, or playing Sun, Goku, Daima, which was just a Saiyan but no Earthling, and it hurt some conditions. But now you have a Saiyan Earthling combo that has Sun in its card name. So this is gonna basically replace the super combo you were running in something like Red Gohan. That can help. That can give some support. That's very nice. We also got the alt art for it, which looks very nice, a lot better than the regular art. We're very glad that we're getting better arts in the alt arts than we do in the regular arts. This is the best card in the deck by far, aside from the triple strike. But this is a card that you're running 4 of, no questions asked. You need 4 of these. You cannot not run 4 of these, especially since it's a rare. Permanent. There's a Hercule cost 3 or more in your battle area. Reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 1. So you can play this for 1. First of all, so it's the only card you can play for 1. Then you draw a card, and then this card in a battle area gets 1 key. The useless battle card in the rest mode. Now, a bunch of important stuff with this card. Number 1, you can play this for 1. The other Earthling cards, you can play for 2. You can play for 2. You can play for 2 and get the key with it. This one, you can play for 1, which means you get the key for 1. Number 2, it draws a card. It's not a scry like this, so you get your card replaced after you play this. Right? And then it's an active main switch to rest mode. So if your opponent doesn't address it, it gets to draw again and key again. So your opponent has to swing into it and KO it and bottom it or whatever. So this is like your most important card, no questions asked. You want to draw this 1,000 times over. You want to see this card every single day. Now also remember, this is going to be very important later, but you can also play this card, use its active main ability, even if it's in rest mode. Because it doesn't say switch this card to rest mode, as in it's a condition you have to meet, and then you draw the card and get a key. It says you draw the card, get the key, and then if the card's already in active mode, you switch it to rest mode. And if it's already in rest mode, this condition doesn't matter because it's already in rest mode. So even if you don't have the Hercule in hand, you can play this off for 1 because you can play it with Chilai. Chilai plays this in rest mode. This draws a card, and then you get a key, and then nothing else happens. And then your opponent has to address it because then it'll get key the next turn anyway. So this is like a good card to draw. And the funny thing is, you want to get this in your deck. Not the draw. You don't want to use the 1 key. You can use the 1 key, but you much rather have it in your deck to find it with Hercule. Which we'll see later down the line. Because, oh wait, hold on. Let me look at the alt art first. I think I'll take the regular art. This alt art doesn't look bad, but I like this one a little bit better just because, it's like actually everyone on Earth. These are just different characters. It just looks like the Z fighters. Me personally. I mean, I don't... You can like what you like. You can just like that art better, but I like the other art better. Tiki. This is Dende. This card gets +1 key. And then switch this card in battle to rest mode, so you can't play this off with Chilai, unfortunately. You have a total of 2 or more key during this turn. Next time you use an extra, reduce the cost by red. So you can essentially, instead of paying the 1 energy you would pay for the triple strike, which we're going to see later down the line. I keep mentioning it, but, it's a 1 cost extra. You can pay 2 energy instead, and then reduce the cost by 1, and then get a key. So you're essentially getting a key, and then playing the extra for free. Remember Master Roshi? You don't get the Self-Awaken. But you know how important it is to get cards that reduce the cost of your extras. You can play this with Mafuba. You can play this with... What other card can you play this with? You can play this with Threads of Fate. You can play this with Assemble Warriors of Universe 7. You can play this with a bunch of... You can play this with Power Pole. You can play this with a bunch of different extras. However, remember that you don't want to use 2 cost extras in the deck. So keep that one in mind. Very important to not use a 2-cost extra. Though, again, using an extra for 1 energy, very, very important. Especially if we get extras in the future that give you ki. Now we got this Vegeta cantrip. Look at the top 5 cards, reveal it to 1 Son Goku or 1 Earthling only card. Both would cost 3 or less and add it to your hand. So this card can be, it's a Saiyan card, so remember that you can also play this on Red Gohan, which is going to help because it searches for Son Goku, which you're going to be running in the deck anyway, and Earthling only cards, you're going to be running something like Videl. So you can find, it's not going to be particularly good, you much rather run a standard cantrip, but this card can still help you use a Saiyan card that you can rest for the Gohan's ability. For this deck specifically, it's not really going to help, but it's something. Oh, it is something. Well, I can guarantee you that for free. You got this Vegeta, which again is BR support. This card swings for 30. Or, sorry, it doesn't swing for 30, it swings for 20. I did the math wrong. But for the most part, it's just a 10k, which can help Gogeta, because Gogeta doesn't run many 10ks. It runs a lot of 5s, aside from the Evolve combos. But the Evolve combos are using to use Evolve cards. Gogeta struggles in terms of combo power. But you can get around that by running a 10. I don't think it's worth it because of the permanent ability, but when attacking, it's very nice. If you have a Son Goku BR in your battle area, choose 1 battle card in your opponent's battle area and it gets -5. So you can use this to minus your cards by 5, then you can use the Goku to minus it by 5 again, and you can minus higher cards. Gogeta doesn't struggle in terms of minus power, but you can run this card to get more minus power and get it with get the minus with a Vegeta. I don't think it's particularly good, aside from the fact that it's a 10k. But it's an option to run in the deck, which is interesting. This isn't as much of a buff as it is the Son Goku that we saw previously, but it's an interesting tech that you can run now with BR. We got this Bora. This card gets 1 ki. You have a total of 2 or more ki. Choose one of your leaders or 1 card in your battle area, but with Saiyan only Son Goku, and it gets plus 10k power. This card is going to be essentially irreplaceable. This not only ramps you up in your ki, but it makes your Goku swing for 10k extra. Like, that's really, really nice. When you're playing it with the triple strike, it actually does a 15k as well, which we'll see later down the line. But once you're adding to your ki, you can also play this with the SR, so you can get a ki and then get the SR, and then plus your leader, by the way, plus your leader. Then you play the 2-cost. The 2-cost Son Goku gets the ki from this. And then when you swing with the Son Goku, you swing for 30. And then you can combo this off if you wanted to go to 40. And then you can swing with your Goku leader to swing for 40 as well. Or you could play this card and then swing for 40 with the other Goku and then use the triple strike swing to go all in, while also making it like a 55k swing baseline, because remember that the 10k that you would get for this card goes to the other Goku as well. This is an essential card. This is a very important card. Because oh wait, but this is a 5 though. I didn't see that. That's rather precarious. Well, I guess you can just get the Goku and then just go all in with this and then use this 5 to make it a 60k swing instead of just a 55 straight up. So it can still help the deck. It's very important. But it's just a nice card to run overall. I feel like that's a good summary for this card. Adding the 10k is really important, even if it's just a Son Goku cards. We got this Majin Buu blocker. On play when blocking, this card gets ki. Now, since it's on block, you can't use the active main. You have to have this card survive to get the 2 ki. Which with the deck it can help. It can be an alternative tech, sure. But for the most part, you're just going to be addressing this card immediately with like 50,000 options, and it's not really going to get its effect. And even if it does, it has to survive till next turn, or else you don't get the ki. It's going to be good for something like Select Match, where your cards might live. But for the regular game, no. I don't think it's going to be a good card to run. It's an interesting card. It's just not particularly good. This 3-cost Hercule plays 1 Earthly only battle card with an original cost of 2 in rest mode, and with its on-play ability negated. Then this card gets 1 ki. This is just a worse version of the SR, which is lame, but you should still be running this because this plays something like the 2-cost Everyone on Earth. The card gets a ki from this skill, then the card itself gets a ki even if it gets played in rest mode. This card still helps you like ramp up your ki, which that alone just gives you 2 ki. For 3 energy, that can help. This card itself is going to be a massive loser because it's just a 3-cost that you just combo off because it doesn't even get ki anyway. But it's a good, interesting card to run, and you kind of need to run it because Everyone on Earth is such a good card that you just want to play it with this every single time. Now we got this Hercule. This Hercule looks at the top 7 cards from your deck, then you play up to 2 Earthling only battle cards. It's the same one as the previous one, except this one plays 2 instead of 1, and then all the cards played with the skill get plus 1 ki. So you get 2 ki with this. And the biggest target for and it gets played, okay, this card is better for a myriad of ways. Number one, this card that we saw previously, it plays it from your hand. This one plays it from the deck, so it doesn't minus your hand size, which is very important. Number two, this looks at top 7, which is a huge condition. Like, top 7 is a very broad amount of cards to look for, especially in a deck you're going to be playing a lot of Earthling only cards. The unplanned getting negated is lame, but if you find 2 everyone on Earth, you can give it 2 key. Then they use the active main ability, and then they get 4 key. And then you draw a card for each one play. So remember that this doesn't minus your hand size because you play them from deck. So those cards give you even more hand size on top of that. Hand over shoulders, the best card to get with this card is going to be everyone on Earth. It's not going to be very likely because you're only running 4 and there's no real card like it around. But like getting it from the deck and getting its active main ability is going to be so huge. And just getting the 2 key is not bad either. So that can still help you, even if you just get 2 regular Earthlings. And again, since it's from the deck, you can still use that ability, and it doesn't minus your hand size basically at all. It only minuses your hand size when you play this. But in terms of minusing your hand size, it does not. So there's not really any disbenefit from playing it from your deck, especially since you can set up everyone on Earth easier with the King Yemma. It's just a very good overall card. Very essential run. It's really lame that the Ultra Common version is just a massively worse version than the SR. That's lame, because it doesn't incentivize players to be creative or for players to be able to run this deck free-to-play friendly. I mean, it's an option, I guess, man. I mean, IG Bro. I mean, at least they have the card to play. By the way, this alt art looks amazing. Easily much better than the regular art. At least just having the regular Hercule is going to help free-to-play players by at least having a Hercule. Now, this is going to be very good for playing the Dende. You can, if you have 5 energy in your hand, if you have 5 energy, you can play the 3-cost Hercule. Then you can play, with the 2 energy, you can play a Dende. Dende gets a key. Then you can use this Saiyan Roar for free, Savior's Roar for free. And then if there's a Hercule with cost 2 or more, which there already is, you look at top 5, and reveal 2 cards, cost 3 or less, and add it to your hand. It can be any card. It doesn't have to be an Earthling only. It can be a Sun card. It can be like a Saiyan card. It can be whatever. And then discard a card from your hand. So you can find everyone on Earth with this. And you can just send it to the bottom of your deck and then shuffle your life. Or even better, you can find the card, then delete it, and then pick it back up with King Yemma and then add it back to your deck shuffled. Or even better than that, you can pick it up and then play it for 1 energy next turn, or that same turn, anyway. So this card is really good, especially with the Dende. I feel like this is a run 4 if you're running that Dende. If you can tech the Dende off. Dende's a really good card, but you can take it or leave it since it's not an Earthling card. Also, I'm pretty sure, let me make absolutely sure that this is true. Go back to the King Yemma. It says battle cards. Okay, so you can't pick up that extra. You can't pick up this extra with the King Yemma, so you can't get it back. But it's nice to have, dude. It's nice to be able to play that card with the King Yemma and set it up specifically. I don't think you're going to be able to set it up with that Hercule. I mean, you can. You're not really going to want to, because if you draw everyone on Earth with that extra, you're going to want to draw it and then play it, just regular. But it is an option that you can have. Anyways, we got this Thanks Dragon Ball. If your leader has Saiyan only, Son Goku, costs 5 or more, so essentially this card, the new card that we got. Choose 1 battle card from your opponent's battle area with an original cost of 35 or less, placed in the owner's drop. So this is just a better version of Removal Kamehameha. Do not run Removal Kamehameha on this deck. You can't run 2 costs extra, so see you later why. Okay? But this is your removal spell. It's a very good standard removal spell, especially when combined with Upa. If you have the 5 or more key, then you can play the Upa, and for 3 energy, you can minus a 45, which is basically every card in the game, and ignores KO effects. So it basically removes everything while also not caring about the actual KO. Very important against decks like Yellow Gogeta. So essentially, every single turn you're just going to be playing this and just removing any card that you see every single turn. No matter what the card is, it's just getting removed anyway. And you're also ramping key on your same turn because this doesn't cost that much key to play anyway. Getting to the key might be a trouble because you basically have no removal before that. But for that, you have the North Kai until you eventually get to your removal turn, which is the 5+ key turn. Anyway, so we're moving on to the most important card of the deck, the Super Genki Dama, another SR extra. If you don't have this, by the way, spoiler alert, don't run the deck. Remove all 7 or more key from your Son Goku leader that's in a battle. If there are no extras, cost 2 or more in your drop, for the battle, your leader gains triple strike
and plus 5k power for each key removed. So this is going to be your essential win card. This is what the deck is built around. All the key that you've built up, which goes to your leader, by the way, so it doesn't matter if you remove cards from battle. Every key you get subsequent to the 7, which is going to make your leader a 45, plus the 55 that you get from adding the key that turn, is going to be a basically standard 55k swing. Well, I guess technically standard 45 if you don't add the key. It's going to be a basically standard 55k swing. Every key you add subsequent to that is going to give you more power. The basic strategy and game plan of this deck is going to be to get as much key as possible, get your opponent to 3 specifically, and then once your opponent's at 3, you kill them with triple strike. Every other turn, you're just stacking key and just swinging, comboing up to make your opponent force them to 3, and then once your opponent's at 3, you just send the triple strike and you kill them. Now, this is why you don't want to run 2 cost extras. If there are no extras that cost 2 or more in your drop, which is Kamehameha and a lot of other different extras, I don't know why they made it this condition specifically. This is rather weird because the deck doesn't even want to run 2 cost extras anyway, except for the removal Kamehameha, which I guarantee you people are going to run. Like the 2 cost extra, you're not really going to want to run, especially removal Kamehameha. Stop running the removal Kamehameha. This deck cannot run it because if this skill next gets negated, it's GG's, because this is your essential game plan. This is what you want to be doing. So, the basic game plan is just going to be that, and you don't want to run 2 cost extras because of this condition. Because if this card gets negated for the rest of the battle, it's going to suck. And the alt art looks much better. It's very nice to get alt arts that just look better, right? But that is it for the reveals for red. We're going to move backwards, spoil a little bit of the blue stuff, because I forgot to set it to only red. Anyways, this deck looks like it's going to be very interesting and powerful. Its main strategy is going to be to ramp up your key. Let me take a break, hold on. Anyways, this seems like it's going to be a very good, just standard overall deck. It's a very interesting gimmick. I really am a big fan of it. The overall game plan is just going to be to stack your key, get a bunch of key power into your leader. Since it goes to your leader, stacking the key doesn't matter much against some decks. For example, most predominantly Black Gogeta. Removing your cards means that you get your key removed, so it de-incentivizes your game plan, makes you weaker overall. This deck doesn't really care, because since the key will always go to your leader no matter what, since that's the leader's ability, it gets put safely into your leader, and you can't really remove key from leader unless you go out of your way to remove it with the extra. So all you're doing is just playing a bunch of cards, getting a bunch of cheap swings. Then once you get enough key and you feel confident that you can go for game, you get your opponent to 3. Then once you get your opponent to 3, you can then use your massive triple strike and then kill them instantly. Now you could triple strike multiple times. Like you could get the key to use the triple strike and then just ramp up your key again to triple strike again. Not going to be very optimal to do that. This is going to give your opponent more cards and more opportunities to kill you, and the game's probably not going to get stalled enough against most decks to be able for that to be able to happen. But this deck is very powerful because it keeps your opponent at high life, keeps them at a low hand size, and still gives you value overall in terms of drawing and stuff. It just seems like a very powerful deck overall. If I had to give it a rating, 7 or 8. Red is always, well, not always, but it's usually a very good deck. Like, red doesn't really fall in a season, and it's very often meta. But I still think a 7 and an 8 is in order because while the strategy is nice, there's a lot of decks that just straight up kill you before that happens. Like, if you're looking for a good rush down, this deck I feel is going to be a very big red Gohan victim, which is a very big rogue deck. I mean, it's not big now, but like it's going to be a victim to a lot of decks that are just better overall in terms of, being a deck. Because this deck doesn't really do much of anything, right? It just ramps key. And it has like a bunch of bodies that just swing standard. This swings very high, but for overall swing standard. This swing standard. Like, it's just, it peppers you at 4 life. And that's essentially its game plan, which is nice, but against most decks it's not going to help. Also, it's going to be very powerful to run something like Chilai. I mean, I said before that Chilai is just a very good standard red card. But Chilai is going to help out a lot because, for example, Upa gets played for 1. Krillin gets played for 1. Suma gets played for 1. And they activate their Dende gets played for 1. And they activate their on-play abilities. Being on rest mode doesn't matter. It matters for cards like this, but, Dende isn't even anything anyway, so Dende doesn't care. You get to play this an extra for free. The energy that you would pay for this Dende, you just use for an extra for free. which is nice. It helps. So anyways, enough rambling aside, this is looking to be a very interesting deck. I'm a very big fan. And yeah, that's about it, man.